Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis Bowen, on this evening edition of Fire of Liberty, the 29th of 2017. Very fantastical, brand new fruition. One of the key moments of what happened today, of course, is Bright Hearts. But continuing on with the, for example, fluid motion of the accelerated transition, and accelerated transformation, accelerated transcendence of the Renaissance, this age of Renaissance, and of course this age of Dry Ghost, and this age of the Golden Age, where we're expanding limitlessly, recognizing, of course, all the spectacular key facts of what is the ascended version, for example, of what we can become, and of course the ascended version of what we can become as we're becoming the process of what we can become, becoming that which is the animate and inanimate magical transition forms of which we can be created. And of course there's the understanding of what forms and formless, and of course you can move into formless and move into form and move into that sort of awareness of what it means to, for example, manifest from the formless. And for example, that's as probably just as important as the form. So form, of course, is form. Formless is the, for example, which is once probably Ravenclawistical foundation, which is formless, having, it's like one of the bases of literature, for example. Something is written and then a stage is manifested, for example. That, for example, that type of spirit is the same type of key thing that's, of course, needed to, of course, not necessarily needed, but it is needed, and of course very apparent and very important. And moving forward in this accelerated, advanced evolution for all of life, I was going to say the entire species of humanity, but of course it's for every being. And of course this potential flows out through the very actions that we do, which is incredibly spectacular. So just looking back, I mean, not that we necessarily look back, we're always looking forward, always moving forward, and always using our wisdom to ascend, and of course be that super evolutionary co-creative being, which we all are. Obviously, we're all creative beings, and of course there's that ascension of it's a constant ascension level, no matter what. It's a constant ascension of being, for example, one of the, I guess, side effects is a sort of purification, which is a good thing. You know, there of course, side effects for magic, just as there's side effects for certain foods you eat. Not to point out certain foods, but there's a side effect for wasabi. There's a side effect for ginger. There's a side effect for hot water. There's a side effect for certain. So magic also has beautiful side effects, and of course that's something that's even more exciting to figure out than for me to mention it, because one, that's in part of the incredibly important learning magical wisdom process, and that is, just simplifying that incredibly magical, extraordinary wisdom process. I can just say, for example, in terms of the basis, some of the basis for Ravenclawisticals or Ravenclawistic natures, for example, or just the foundations of those forms of magic. You find it for yourself, and then of course I'm gonna walk, in a sense, ultimately, kind of walk through this process along this way, for example, and of course it's gonna be even more and more vivid. Of course, this lucid dreaming, which is actually also throughout all, I guess I would call it subject. There's Gryffindorianism, Slytherinisticalism, Hufflepuffians, and Ravenclawisticalism. it's a consciousness awareness of that unity, which of course is very key, and the consciousness awareness of that transcendental mode. So you can flow that mode throughout creation, and then it literally, let's just say it has a very amazing effect, and the side effects are very numerous. They're very good. Some are longer lasting, some are short term. Some of them have, have like a certain amount of prestige, or they are a landmark, or they are a entity, or they are a manifestation. And that's very key for when we go into what's going on right now, which is this incredibly accelerated transition into what is happening. So just once again, not going to spoil it, but once again, very exciting things are happening with the exploration of both poles. So with the North Pole and with the South Pole, not necessarily specifically the poles, but of course the area around it, and of course Antarctica. Of course, different areas around the planet, and of course the planet themselves. Different areas around this planet. It's not necessarily the actual action, which is of course very important. Of course, the actual action and the actual discoveries and the actual recoverance and the actual reconnaissance and the actual facts. Of course, they're very important, and those revelations are incredibly important in the revealing of what's been, what will be, what does this mean, and what can be the possible response with, for example, not only wisdom and awareness and knowledge of those actions in doubt, but how do we respond in terms of the spiritual wisdom that we have already gained. The key advanced technologies of what it means to move forward, which is very interesting and very key, which is already magical in this moment with, for example, the technology that we are able to use, because there's, of course, the two technology-assisted consciousness-assisted technology, and of course it's very, very real. Applying it to applying it to technology, obviously, applying it to apparel, applying it to transportation, very multifaceted. Applying to it does indeed apply to certain establishments, certain settings, certain window views, certain types of, and when I mean window views are like a similar type of touchscreen that could be for like a poster. Like there's a poster, instead of a poster it's more like an iPad, and it's not to really just go into the idea of iPads, but it's really just to get into that idea of instant. I'm kind of digressing. The point is instant manifestation. What that instant manifestation does with, for example, having a sort of platform, and that platform is like a physical holographic screen for interfacing. Like that could be like on a poster, and that poster is like an actual interface. That interface, of course, is creating real manifestations of any type of product of creation, meaning to, like, if you want to print spaceships, that can be done, or if you want to create anything that wants to be manifested, and that's very key for tools, which are actually, for example, living. And that's the next exciting thing about the future is amino acid computers, amino acid computers. So that's exciting. That's what Telos has. Those, I believe, some other subterranean Agarthian cities also have those computers, those forms of technologies. I mean, tremendous progress is being made, so it's a beautiful transition, and it's actually quite flowsome. It's a flowinary, and so what is, of course, key is, of course, not only the thought form advancement, but the actual transcendence, which is happening very gradually. So, continuous with the exciting fruitions of the accelerated potential for magic in the spiritual, for example, spiritual realms, which we enter in, as in, like, consciousness advancement zones, they could be called, or consciousness advancement, or consciousness accelerate, or consciousness ascension realms. And it could be singular, plural, either, because of course it's unlimited, many unlimited forms and variations, which can be, of course, integrated and then even spread, like seeds. Like seeds that plant into new forests, ultimately, of new creation. So, of course, of new consciousness. So it can be in the omniscience, or it can be in seed form of omniscience and forms of omnipotence. Organic, inorganic, extraterrestrial, earthly, space-bound, extragalactic, intergalactic, etc. This is Mr. Marco Curtis Bone, and this evening edition of Fire for Liberty. Love you all.